Dr. Evans, congratulations on being named principal of Freedom High School. Becoming a principal is a difficult job regardless of the school, but as you are well aware, Freedom High School has been listed as a low performing school for the last several years. The governor's Office of Student Achievement determines low performing schools. They are still going by the 2018-2019 CCRPI scores due to COVID and lack of milestones and some of the other achievement data. But they go off of a CCRPI score from that year of 66.2 or less. And since your school was lower, it has been identified as low performing. Now, they could have definitely made strides since then, but we won't know that at least for another few months and possibly a year to really see the gains that they made. But that being said, I appreciate you considering me as you look into determining how to run your school, what reforms to look into. So you specifically asked about comprehensive school reform, CSR models versus processes, which are also known as school improvement grants, the SIGs. While both have merits, I tend to lean to CSRs, and here's why. And we'll look at the SIG model to begin with. So in the model, you have to implement one of four school intervention models. And we'll look at the last two. The last two are restart. Either you restart the school under a charter school management, or you close the school and disperse the population to other higher performing schools. I don't think your school leadership at this time is open to either one. The other two are transformation, where you replace the principal, and then you put into other things like student achievement growth as a significant factor, adult government structure, institute comprehensive instructional reforms. The next model is turnaround, which you do the same, but you also replace at least 50% of your school staff. So turnaround, I don't think that's going to be great for a first year principal to in a low performing school where you're already having trouble filling positions to get rid of 50% of your staff. And then the transformation model, while it may be possible to go through that, it seems to be more of a reactive approach. Had the school system already had this in mind, they would have processes in place, and probably at your first interview, you would have been told that this was the plan, that the other principal had been removed, you were being hired, and then we were going to go through a transformation process. So I'm a little worried about that. Also, if you kind of look at the statistics, the U.S. Department of Education completed a descriptive analysis of 290 schools during the 2012 and 2013 school year that were using SIG models. And then they compared to 190 schools that were not. Overall, what they found were across all grades that implementing an SIG model had no significant impacts on math or reading test scores, high school graduation rate, or college enrollment. And that's straight from the U.S. Department of Education. They also said, because you have a large group of English language learners, the practices there were no significant differences in test scores for this group of students between SIG schools and non-SIG schools. So in contrast, you have the CSR, so the Comprehensive School Reform, and this is a rigorous curriculum program. That's not the only part. They also have efficient school management, ongoing staff development, frequent student assessments, and parent involvement. These are all components that make an effective CSR. So, these took place kind of in the late 90s and rolled into the early 2000s with No Child Left Behind. So some of the information is a little bit older, but it's still very valid. So a 2003 study by Borman, Hughes, Overman, and Brown showed that schools that implemented a model for 5 years or more showed considerable gains. Also, CSR were found to be equally effective between high and low poverty schools. Since you're in a low poverty school, this may be a better option. Furthermore, Behrens, Bodley, and Kirby from 2002 conclude that some research has shown gains in math and reading in CSR schools. Now, they also conclude that maybe test scores weren't the only or maybe best indicator of effectiveness, but in the society we live in, leadership and the public really zone in on some of those test scores, so they are important in their own regard. Two programs that you might want to look at, and these are things that are of interest to me because I have a heart for developing high school students for careers and what's next in life. So, and we understand that not all students are going to college. Maybe they go to a tech school, maybe they go into the workforce, but preparing them for whatever they choose. So, two were the Talent Development High School with Career Academies. This was out of Maryland. So each school has a ninth grade academy and at least two career academies. So the ninth grade just pretty much gets you in the door, basics, and then the 10th through 12 grades are really focused on that career readiness, specific skills related to a career field of interest, and give some post-secondary work options following high school and getting these students ready for what's next. And since you have your school has been had problems with attendance, maybe this will be an area of getting kids interested in coming to school. Another one that's kind of on the same track is a high school at work. And this has, there's 10 main key principles, but some of the, ones I've highlighted are high expectations. All students can learn. Program of study, students will complete programs that lead to industry or post-industry or post-secondary credentials that just prepares them for a higher paying job. Student engagement using research-based strategies, teacher collaboration, work-based learning opportunities, and then guidance and advisement, giving them personalized career guidance and advisement. So, anyway, those are just two that kind of resonate with me. But as always, and I'm probably just preaching to the choir, my best advice for you is to conduct a careful needs assessment of your school. Determine the areas in which your school is struggling, and then inevitably there are probably some areas where your school is doing really well. So find those out, find what you need to address, and then identify your own beliefs and visions for Freedom High School. You're the leader now. What do you see? What do you envision? What kind of school do you want to run? And what outcomes do you want for your students? What outcomes do you want for your teachers? And then speak with your system leadership, your superintendent. Make sure your vision and the system's vision align. Because to make this a sustainable change, it's not just going to be a school reform. It's going to be a system reform. There's going to have to be changes there. In high school, you only have them for 4 years. There's work in the long term where there'll be work. It may look a little bit different in the elementary or the middle grades, but the ultimate goal should be aligned throughout the system. So I would definitely encourage you to look there. And I encourage you to look at other models, CSR or SIG models that are of interest. Take those and then, maybe take parts of them. The evidence-based strategies that work, put them together and mold what would work best for your system. And I believe that's what's going to be the foundation for success moving forward. So, Dr. Evans, congratulations once more, and I look forward to seeing the successful school that you'll be leading in the years to come. Thanks.